preserving soil, because it's the soil that will feed us and preserve us for future generations. This recent study from the University of Massachusetts and the National Science Foundation showed that soil in the Midwestern U.S. is eroding at the current time 10 to 1,000 times faster than it forms. That's a problem. When the settlers first came here to the Midwest, there was topsoil 6 feet deep. Now it's 6 inches. The remainder of that, a lot of it, has been flushed down the Mississippi. It is in the Gulf of Mexico, where it causes, due to the nutrients and the lack of oxygen, it causes a dead zone about the size of Massachusetts to form every summer. That's not sustainable. So, fortunately, this is something that solar is ideally suited to help us mitigate. On a typical solar site in Michigan, what we're seeing is they will plant native grasses and pollinator plants around the solar facility. And these grasses, these plants typically have much, much deeper roots than, say, the grass that you or I might have in our yard. And these roots will bring nutrients and carbon and minerals down into the soil and replenish that soil and replenish the life that exists in that soil, the soil biome, which is critically important and is really what is responsible for the generative power of that soil. And they will allow for aquifers to be recharged over time. And during the time when that solar is on there, we're not going to be pounding them with pesticides and herbicides and heavy equipment. There will be minimal application of herbicides just to keep access roads open. But largely, we're going to let that soil be. We're going to let it regenerate and become actually a habitat for a host of small critters who are at the bottom of the food chain that we scarcely think about, but that are absolutely critical to the larger life in our natural community. So I've got a couple of experts where I talked about the impacts of solar on local farmland and soils, both from Indiana, Connie Neininger, and scientists from University of Indiana as well. So I'll let them explain.
The solar projects, when they go in, they are not using cement or stone to put this racking system in.
For the most part, the fixed installations, what they typically do is put in a ground screw. It's like a really large screw, 6 feet tall. So rather than digging and putting in concrete, put in steel pillars, that stuff's so 20th century. The 21st century, these ground screws, you screw them in, now they're rock solid. So they're going down like 6 feet. Then you mount your solar panel on top of those. You have one, or sometimes, in a few cases, 2 axes of tilt to follow the sun.
And so after the usable life of a solar project, it's real easy to pull those solar panels and the racking system back out, and then you have viable farmland again for that landowner.
And then when you're all done, you take those things out, you go recycle your silicon solar panels, you unscrew the ground screw, and now the ground has been left to rest for 30 or 40 years and is now going to be fertile like it was before humans came and started digging up and growing things into it.
And that's important because, first of all, they're not using the amount of chemicals on that land any longer while the solar panels are there. They do plant vegetation that actually usually has deeper roots, and so you're nourishing the soil more by pulling the water and the nutrients down into the soil. And I've had soil agronomists tell me that soil ends up being better after a solar project has been there than it ever was before, because you're relaxing the soil and letting it rejuvenate on its own, which is huge. These areas that are developed in wind or solar are not going to be used for housing subdivisions any longer. They're not going to be taken over by industrial manufacturing facilities. They are going to be maintained as agricultural lands. So that's really protecting our farmland more than anything else. But a landowner who farms told me, he goes, Connie, I was going to lose my farm and I would not have had anything to pass on to my next generation if it had not been for the solar leases now paying me. He goes, I'm old enough, I can't continue to farm, my kids don't want to farm, but I didn't know what I was going to do. The solar project saved his farm for his future generations.
That's a really good point, because the hugest, the largest threat to farmland across the country, absolutely beyond anything else, is urban sprawl. So in county after county, we find that clean energy that is giving farmers a chance to diversify their income is helping them stay on the land and encouraging the next generation to step up and farm that land. We're starting to see diverse uses for that solar land, including sheep grazing. I was working in one of the counties in mid-Michigan where a development is planned that will be the first large introduction of sheep grazing into a solar facility. You've got in Minnesota, I think this picture is from Minnesota, the use of pollinators and actual beekeepers in production, honey production, specifically around a solar facility. In fact, this is solar honey from one of those fields in Minnesota. I haven't tasted it yet, but I think it's pretty good. I'm told it's pretty good. And it's clear evidence that the bees are fine, the ground is fine, and there is a continued agricultural use for that land. Now, I'm trying to get developers interested in baby goats, just because I like baby goats. I can't seem to get anybody to bite on this yet, but I'm going to work on it. Finally, a lot of people ask, we're living here in the upper Midwest, can we really generate power from sun in the Midwest? This question came up on Fox News not too long ago. This is a favorite clip of mine. They were discussing the success of solar energy in Germany. And you may have heard that Germany has very advanced clean energy. They produce almost half, 49%, or maybe it was 46% of their electricity from clean energy this past year. And they went to their constructive reporter to find out, was this true? How is it that Germany is doing so well with solar?
What was Germany doing correct? Are they just a smaller country and made more?
They're a smaller country and they've got lots of sun, right? They've got a lot more sun than we do.
Okay, so anybody ever been to Germany? As a public service, I recognize that we haven't been to war with Germany in a while, and many people have forgotten or never learned where it was. It is a small, cloudy, northern European country on approximately the same latitude as Labrador, Canada. And they lead the world in solar technology because they decided. They have good engineers, but they're not better than our engineers. The National Renewable Energy Lab made this very helpful graph showing the relative solar resource in the United States and Germany. And what you can see is that red is like super good, yellow and green are pretty darn good, blue and purple not so much. And in fact, what you can see down here is that Germany has less of a solar resource than Alaska, and yet they lead the world. So, yeah, we're pretty sure that the upper Midwest, there's a reason why the upper Midwest is seeing a renaissance in solar development, because with the low prices of these installations, this energy generation just makes a whole lot of sense. So finally, the improvements in this technology continue. Just down the road, the University of Michigan developed a coating for solar panels. This is being tested in Alaska. And the panels with this coating shed snow much more rapidly than ordinary panels. And so it just shows that these incremental changes that are taking place with, it's almost too fast to keep up with them, are continuing to lower the cost of this energy and make it ever more competitive. So that is the end of the formal part of my presentation. I'm hoping that some of you will stick around for Q&A. I want to thank you again for inviting me here, and I hope that I can answer any questions you might have. I hope you will also make use of sun101.org, which is a website I have created with a whole bunch of resources that are shareable to help kind of aid in discussion and dispelling misinformation. And you can also contact me through there or follow me at Peter W. Sinclair on Twitter. So thank you so much, and stick around. We'll have some Q&A in a few minutes.